afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to PBTV. I'm Stu, and we're live on Facebook and YouTube. Hope you are doing well. Hope you got out to play at the weekend. I know I did. Met some people, and it was a lot of fun. So we've brought out a classic today. This was actually a request from the weekend. Someone asking how sort of a good starting platform, but something a little bit more retro, rather than something that's all covered in all the modern bits and bats that we've covered recently. And obviously, this has just landed with us. It is also a new brand, so if you want to know a bit more about DEVGRU as a brand, I know there are DEVGRU platforms out there, but this is DEVGRU as a brand, not as a platform. And this is the DEVGRU DG4-A2, also more commonly known as an M16-A2. So the M16 itself is a very, very, very common platform. It's been well received over many, many years. People love it just purely because of its sort of history and heritage and everything like that. And this is one of the earlier models. So you get the A4, which is all quad rails, top rails and everything like that. This is the one step above that original A1 platform, back sort of Vietnam days with the triangle front end and everything like that. This is a little bit beyond that, a little bit more modern, but still has that classic vibe to it. So this is something that you're wanting. You're not wanting to trick it up, and you just want to grab something out of the box and run around with it. This is probably where you're at. But it still has some awesome features, and you can play around with some optics and everything like that. As always, if you've got any questions, drop them down below. We'll flash them up on the screen. It's always great to talk to you. So by all means, ask away with your questions. So we will do as we normally do. We'll start at the front and work our way back. If there's anything you want me to cover a little bit more in depth, just drop us a quick comment and we'll go back to it. So commonly found, it does have the 40mm threaded front end. It is counterclockwise, so it is a standard fitment for all your trace units, Spitfires, anything like that. You are all good to go with it. But the one thing that you will immediately notice is the actual barrel on this thing. It is absolutely huge. The inner barrel is about 509mm, maybe plus or minus a little bit. I mean, it is going to be extremely accurate to a very, very, very good range, and you're not having to use massive springs and everything to get the power up. As out of the box, this is sitting around 280 FPS, purely from the country of manufacturer. They're only allowed one dual, so it is down at a bit of a low FPS mark, but it is exceptionally accurate with that long barrel. Very, very good air seal, and if you are on a budget, this is absolutely awesome. Keeping with the its real steel counterpart, it does have the textured barrel and the A front sight post. So it is a pin at the front that can be adjusted for elevation. And coming to the back, there is a peep aperture hole back here. Lining that up gives you a good sight picture. Coming back, you do have the plastic heat shield, heat shroud, anything that how your terminology works. There are rail adapters to attach bits to this. So you can put bits on here, on the bottom, on the top, all good to go. It does have a delta ring at the back, so you pull this back and these two bits slip off, so you can put a quad rail on it in the future if you want, or you can just leave it as it is. Depends if you want to keep it a little bit retro. There is a bayonet lug under there as well if you do want to fit one of your rubber bayonets, the M81 I think it's called, or the M91, but the bayonet will fit on there. And then just behind that is your first sling point. If you wanted to double sling it, there is one at the back on the stock, so you can put a 2-point sling on this and start getting that A2 loadout, getting a little bit more accurate. So coming back, something that we don't see very often, and again, it is just a feature of the A2, is there is no RIS section on the top here. The actual top iron sight is actually a part of the receiver, all made together, and good to go. The rear iron sight is adjustable for windage, so you can adjust that slightly, and I think there is a slight up and down elevation to it as well. There's multiple at the back and multiple at the front. What that means is you are slightly limited with optics for this. There are adapters to get a rail section that fits to the carry handle. Some people will be upset I've called it that. So you can get a RIS section that slots in there. There's a little hole. You tighten it up at the bottom, and you can get a RIS section and get a A2 specific optic if you want, or you can just put anything you want on there. You could even put a T1 on there if you wanted. Coming to controls, again, with it being an Kronos Airsoft on YouTube, does it take any M4 mags? Yes, so the magazines on this, it does come with a 300 round high cap. And what I mean by high cap is there is a window in the top there, open it up, simply pour BBs in, close it up, and there's a wheel on the bottom. Just wind that, primes BBs from the chamber up the tube, and allows them to go into the hop once it's in the mag. I've seen a lot of players when they're new to the sport and everything like that, that when they're trying to do it, they'll turn it over and try and wind it like that. When you have got a high cap, make sure the high cap stays vertical, because then when you wind it, it can catch the BBs. If you turn it upside down, it doesn't load the BBs properly. So coming back to the controls, it is obviously right-handed dominant, with it being of a more classic period. So it does have safe, semi and full auto. The bolt release on the left-hand side is non-functioning, and the mag release is on the left. Charging handle, pulling back, you'll find a standard gear-style hop. Very, very easy to adjust, even in the field. You can just rack that back, adjust it a little bit, fire a few shots, and then you're good to go. Coming back to the massive stock, one of the big pros of the M16 line is this entire space back here is battery space. You could get yourself an absolutely massive 3,300 milliamp block battery, throw it into the back here, and just run all day. The door for the battery is simply on a little switch, so you can drop that down. You'll get the fuse and the wiring out the back. What I will say is, with the DEVGRU brand at the moment, is they are all on large Tamiya. So you will have to, if you haven't got one already, get an adapter, or you can change the connector to a mini Tamiya or a Dean's if you wanted to. But to run most standard batteries, you will need to get an adapter with it. This does not come in the box, unfortunately. Is the stock retractable? 5 Productions on YouTube. No, this is the M16 fixed stock, so it comes as is, and it is basically, this thing is a meter long, pretty much on the nose, and there's no way of lengthening or shortening that. It's just as it is. The M16-A2 was a fixed system, just as it comes, sits as it is. Just, you can swap the stock if you wanted, if this wasn't your cup of tea after you'd had a few games with it. If you want to swap it out, with it being a standard AEG, you can swap it to a stock tube and throw other bits on it. That's totally a function. You will just lose a lot of battery space. So for you guys just joining us, I'll cover a few of the features again, and I'll just explain a few bits internally. So internally, it does have a 509mm in a barrel. I think it's about a 605 or a 608, I can't quite remember, but you are going to get very, very consistent accuracy over your range. You're not going to have too many swingers left and right, so you're gonna be able to sort of put BBs exactly where you want it all of the time. It is a standard version 2 gearbox. There's no bells and whistles to this. It is purely a entry-level version 2, but putting this through the chrono, it sounds really nice. I need to get it on the range at a bit more of a distance over our 20-meter range, but it was very consistent. The FPS barely moved, maybe 1 or 2 FPS either way, and for something at this budget, it's absolutely incredible. And with that length barrel, you're going to be consistent and accurate all day as well. So as I was saying earlier, it does have the 40mm counterclockwise if you wanted to put your Spitfires or Tracers on there. Fixed front air post with a pin at the top. Your aperture sight is the back. Both are, so the front is adjustable for elevation, the rear for windage, and I think a slight bit of elevation. So you get natural elevation at the front, and you get range elevation at the back. So you could have the 300, 400, 500 meter for its real steel version. There is a bayonet lug on the bottom if you want to put one of the rubber bayonets on there and go a little bit more accurate with the loadout. Sling points at the front and one at the back. The one at the front is on a pivot. The one at the back is fixed. And then the heat shroud at the front here is removable via the delta ring. You pull the delta ring back and this thing falls into 2 pieces. And then you can add a quad rail if you wanted. The cheese on YouTube. Has it got a threaded barrel? Yes. So the front end, it does come with a maroon or an orange flash hider in the box, but this is a 14mm counterclockwise thread. You can simply take that off and the black one comes in the box. It's purely country of manufacture law is they have to ship with orange or red flash hiders. Kronos, would you change anything if you were going to run this personally? If I was going to run this, I'd definitely get the adapter rail at the top and try and get a time sort of era accurate optic. They used to do some really cool sort of 1 to 4 times tube style optics, and with the sort of bore axis and everything like this, sort of the cheek weld that you can get on this, they are really comfortable to get a really clean and very, very easy sight picture down. So if you can't get one of the tube style sights, you can just get the RIS adapter that goes on here, and you can put anything on it. You could put a short dot, you could put a tiny dot sight, put a T1 sort of more towards the front, and it's purely because I've always found that pin and aperture sights, they just block a little bit of your vision. So people coming in when you're eyes are downrange, you sort of hide people trying to sneak up on you. So I'd probably try and get a dot sight to fit it, but I know a lot of people that would run this would just run it as it is. I probably wouldn't even change the front. If I was going to run this, it would be a little bit more of a sneaky platform. I wouldn't be putting rails on it. I wouldn't be putting any accessories or anything else. I'd just run it as is and try and keep it as legit as possible. So people coming in, what I was on about there is the carry handle is actually physically part of the upper receiver, so you can't put any optics direct on this. You will have to get an adapter, is what I mean by that. The charging handle here, if we bring that back, you will find a gear style hop unit. Very, very easy to adjust. You can just rack it back, adjust and go very, very easy. Even with gloves on, you can adjust this. Super, super easy. Comes with a standard metal Stanag magazine for 300 BBs, and your selector on the left-hand side is safe, semi, and full auto. Battery space at the back is the entire stock space, so it is absolutely massive. Get yourself a 3,300 milliamp or a 4,000 milliamp Li-on battery in this, and you will probably never have to change your battery for maybe 3 game days. The space is amazing. Dropping down the little lever opens the back door. Getting in there, you will find a fuse and the wiring. As I was saying earlier, the DEVGRU brand does come with large Tamiya as standard, so I know it's not very common nowadays, but that is the adapter that you would need to fit a normal Tamiya battery to it. You can get adapters that go from that to Dean's, or you can simply change the connector inside to either a Dean's or a Tamiya, and you are good to go. Carl Robinson on Facebook. How easy is it to change the spring? Basically very similar to a standard AEG. It's not got a quick change spring, so it would be a gearbox out and a split to change the spring. But if you have the knowledge of being able to split a gearbox, it would be quite simple. A lot of people think these full stocks are a little bit more difficult to get off. They're exactly the same as getting a normal stock tube off. It is just a large screw at the back. Take that off. You would have to then take the motor out, the grip, all the accessories, and do a full gearbox split. So it is a long job, but if you have done it before and you've done it a few times, it is quite easy. If you are not tech-minded, get a tech to do it. It is much better and much easier and much less heartache when you can't realise that you don't know how to put it back together. So if there's any final questions, please drop them in the comments and we'll ask them whilst we can. The Cheese on YouTube again. Also, on a completely different subject, has anyone got any tips on removing a Crytac Trident flash hider? Crytacs have grub screws in them. They are very, very difficult to see sometimes because the angle that you've got to look at, it might be covered by the rail, depending where it is, but make sure you get the grub screw fully out. Don't just do it about half, because the grub screw has to be fully out. It's about a 1.5mm Allen key. Take it all the way out before you turn it, and then you have to turn it clockwise. So because most threads on AEGs are counterclockwise, you have to do what would be tightening. So if you get a bottle of pop and you put the cap on, that would be taking the flash hider off. So it's a little bit counterproductive in your brain, but make sure the grub screw is fully out before you start taking it off, otherwise you're going to start ripping threads, unfortunately. But if there's anything else, that has been the DEVGRU M16-A2, known as the DG4-A2. Very, very cool bit of kit. We're excited to see what else DEVGRU have to offer. We've got some other bits and bats that we'll bring out this week as well. Unfortunately, I'm not here tomorrow, so there won't be a live stream tomorrow, but I'll be back Thursday with maybe a rig video. If not, we will cover some more DEVGRU stuff. Always good to chat to you, so if you want to join us, join in the chat, always good to speak to you. But until then, I'll speak to you in a bit.